Article 8, Awareness Raising. This section begins with 2 comments in panels. Public attitude is by far the biggest barrier I face. It's amazingly tiring constantly having to educate, appease, justify, fit in. It's the main reason why I often choose to remain secluded. Survey respondent. General public lack of awareness of how many people have or are affected by disabilities. Hui participant. Introduction. Article 8 states that governments should educate their citizens about the rights and dignity of disabled people and acknowledge their achievements and skills. Government should also take the appropriate measures to combat stereotypes, prejudice, and any other activities that might harm disabled people. To realize the rights set out in Article 8, long-term and comprehensive programs guided by disabled people and their representative organizations need to be in place across all areas of society. Importance of Article 8 to disabled people in New Zealand. This article provides the foundation by which all other rights set out in the Disability Convention can be realized. Unfortunately, there continue to be inaccurate and damaging stereotypes and prejudices about disability that preclude disabled people from being accepted for who they are and what they can do. Raising awareness of disability issues and acknowledging the barriers that exist to prevent the full participation of disabled people in everyday life are vital for creating a non-disabling society. Current place of Article 8 in New Zealand law and practice. There is nothing in New Zealand law that specifically requires or explicitly advocates for the systematic positive promotion of disability and the rights and dignity of disabled people. Although the Harmful Digital Communications Act 2015 aims to prevent cyberbullying and specifies disability as an area of focus. Committee's previous dialogue with the State on Article 8. In its list of issues, the Disability Committee requested the government provide information on, Endnote 82, A. Measures targeted at public and private actors undertaken to combat stigma, stereotypes, prejudices, negative attitudes, bullying, hate crime, hate speech, and discriminatory language against persons with disabilities in all spheres of life, including cyberspace. B. Involvement of the media in awareness-raising strategies, including campaigns. C. Measures taken to promote and sustain a greater understanding that the life of persons with disabilities is of equal value to that of others, and to eradicate and prevent attempts to disseminate ideas that life as a person with disabilities is not worth living. The government responded by referencing Think Differently, 2010 to 2015, Like Minds, Like Mine, 1997 to present, the Disability Confident Campaign, 2016 to 2017, New Zealand Sign Language, NZSL Week, and the Bullying Prevention Advisory Group. The government also referred to a project by the HRC focused on addressing attitudes toward disability. It acknowledges that further work will be resource-dependent, but to date the IMM has not understood it to have committed any resources. Comment on the realization of Article 8 in New Zealand. Awareness raising has been addressed in some areas, in particular long-running campaigns, such as Like Minds, Like Mine, that focus on mental health discrimination and stigma. Other campaigns with a pan-impairment focus, including Think Differently and Disability Confident, lacked the scope or longevity required to promote systemic attitudinal change. Positive stories about disability do sometimes appear in the media, but there are still a large number of reports portraying disability and disabled people in an undesirable light, including frequent use of negative language such as wheelchair-bound. Despite 20 years of the Like Minds, Like Mine campaign, there is a persistent tendency for the media to associate mental illness with violence, contrary to evidence. In her 2019 report, at Part 4, Underlying Causes of Disability-Specific Forms of Deprivation of Liberty, Catalina de Vandas Aguilar, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, observed, Endnote 83, A central aspect of prejudice against persons with psychosocial disabilities is the baseless belief that they are prone to violence. This assumption has proven to be wrong. In fact, evidence shows that they are actually more likely to be victims of violence. Of particular concern have been the discussions around the End-of-Life Choice Act 2019 and new forms of antenatal testing for genetic conditions, including Down syndrome, Endnote 84. Discussion on both topics has included consideration about what constitutes a dignified life and has been viewed by some members of the disability community as devaluing the lives of disabled people and promoting euthanasia and abortion ahead of the provision of an equal society. There is an indication that digital harm is more prevalent among teens experiencing one or more disabilities, and a recent survey showed that, Endnote 85, respondents with a disability who answered the online survey also indicated that they experienced online hate at a higher rate compared to non-disabled participants. 15% of these respondents were targeted with online hate compared to 10% of participants without impairments. Many disabled people report a lack of awareness about disability among the people they are required to interact with in government departments and in the justice sector. During the consultation Hui held to inform this report, participants also reported that social attitudes to disability continue to exclude disabled people from all areas of society and community life. One participant noted, when talking about housing, "Applied for 100 rentals and didn't get one. Landlords assume we'll need modifications and deny us as unsuitable. The issue here is assumptions, not inaccessibility." Survey respondents raised issues with attitudes towards disabled people, with these statements typifying responses on issues of attitudes and awareness raising. "My disability is not obvious. I cannot stand long. I cannot sit long. I need to use the lift. I cannot walk distances on pavement or hard surfaces. People comment I am lazy for taking the lift. I have to justify why I'm not able to do some things. It takes my focus off the job in hand and being professional to make everything personal about my needs. I can take care of myself, providing I have access and opportunity to approach my challenges. I don't need objectification or praise for bravery or pity. People's attitudes are the worst barrier." Recommendations. The IMM recommends that the government 20. Initiate a co-designed nationwide campaign that A. Promotes disabled people's rights and dignity, including profiling the value of diversity. B. Counters negative perceptions about the value of disabled people's lives that have been highlighted, promulgated, through debates relating to the End-of-Life Choice Act 2019 and antenatal screening. And C. Urgently and specifically counteracts public perceptions associating psychosocial disability and violence. 21. Include people-developed disability inclusion content in school curricula and tertiary-level training, particularly, but not limited to, mandatory training for all teachers and others in professions that work directly with disabled people. 22. Provide additional resources to ensure that anti-bullying prevention campaigns fully involve and meet the needs of disabled people. 23. Ensure that, in considering the introduction of expanded hate speech or new hate crime legislation, disability-related hate speech or crime is included. 24. Provide disabled people-led training through the State Services Commission on the Disability Convention for government personnel.